Welcome to Divisive Issues, a comic book podcast where we talk about comic books. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Daryl.
So we're back.
Woo.
Yeah.
After the cataclysm that has occurred in our country.
Yeah, so we're gonna just address the literal elephant in the room very quickly and then move past it.
Literal.
Yeah, get it? Because Republicans?
Yeah, I get it, but it's still not literal. They're not a party of elephants.
Yeah?
We like Democrats are a party of asses, so we can at least.
Okay.
Ah.
You're right. I misspoke. So, what are we doing, Sly?
Doing Death of Superman. And the reason why we're doing it is because just like Superman dies in the story, our hope in America dies this week.
Well, I was going to say over half the people that voted in the previous election are in mourning, so this is our way of consoling them, is sharing another story that's about grieving, or it's about loss.
We also have to point out because people are going to you voted for our next issue that we're going to do, and we were debating on the Doctor Strange story, the Doctor Strange movie, and they wonder what the fuck is that? Well, sorry, we were so depressed.
That's right. I forgot. We're like, what story should we do?
And they also that vote also tied, and we don't have a complex system of electoral college delegates to choose which one we have.
Yeah, so the House of Representatives, which is us, voted, and we voted on something completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This story actually is more personal than just this political thing. It's a symbolism for Sly. So it's actually the death of Sly's feelings.
Yeah, my hope.
And quick fun anecdote, in a very, very rare, probably the only time this will ever happen, this was a story that I was actually recommended to by Phil. So normally Phil's like, I have no idea what comic books are, and I'm like, don't worry, I know everything. But before I was a huge comic book guy and I'd only read Batman, Phil was like, you have to read The Death of Superman, and he bought it for me for Christmas. So thank you, Phil.
To go down this road, I was recommended and shown this book by Sly back in 8th grade.
Oh, man.
And to go further down this road, this comic I actually read because my cousin, who never read comics, he had it in his bookshelf, and I got it from him after a while. But this was one of the first comics I ever read, and I was 8 years old, and I saw the cover of the trade, and it's Superman just covered in blood. And I was watching Superman on TV as a cartoon, and I'm like, yay, Superman! I see this fucking comic on my cousin's shelf. It's like, oh my god, what happened?
Do you know what the greatest twist of all is? I was that cousin. No, I was recommended this by Ryan, so it's like a big train of influence.
Yes.
You should, because I read this previously.
We just run a train on each other.
This was my very first Superman story that I read.
Same.
I think it's a lot of our first Superman stories.
It might have been mine. I don't remember.
Well, it is a huge one.
Yeah, it's on the trade. It says the best-selling graphic novel of all time.
And we were little youngsters when this came out. But it was a big media event and everything too.
It was on news.
Yeah.
Superman dies on national newspapers.
Yeah.
You mean a couple days ago?
Yeah. And just to get into a little bit of the lore, basically Superman comics were kind of in a slump at this time, and the editorial had always jokingly said let's kill him, and everyone's like, yeah.
But wait,
yeah,
I have the full story on this.
Okay, yeah, you go.
So what happened here was, what actually happened was, basically there was a show at the time called Adventures of Lois and Clark. I don't know if anyone ever watched it. I watched it.
Was that this early? I thought that was later.
That was around this time.
Oh wow.
And what happened was that show was a big hit, and in the comics, Superman revealed himself to Lois Lane, his identity as Clark Kent, and he proposed to her. And what happened is, Adventures of Lois and Clark, basically they said, you can't do the marriage until we do it, which was 6 seasons down the line. And the DC writers were like, what the fuck do? We just fucking had him propose, we had him reveal his identity. Why would they not get married for 6 years? And then they brainstorm ideas to prevent Superman from getting married for 6 years. And one guy said, why don't we just fucking kill him? And everyone's like, that's it.
He'll never get married.
It was me on that staff. Let's just kill Superman, please. I just want him to die.
And they did not expect it to be the phenomenon it was. They were planning to have him come back right away and immediately right after. But because it was such this original story was 7 issues, the stories detailing his funeral and his return are all longer than this story, and they get increasingly longer as the story goes on because they were milking it for all it was worth before they finally do their final big return.
And this is my one example why sometimes the giant media milking the story for hype can work sometimes.
Yeah, like this has an exception to a lot of the rules I usually hate, because this is actually multiple different writers that were all doing each different separate Superman books, and each one was doing a chunk of the story. So basically, they had an overall plot sketched out, and each writer handled a different section. And a lot of books that do that now, I hate. But this story, I actually think it works.
Yeah, and so that's the most natural segue I'm going to get to the creators.
Yeah.
At this time, there was 4 different Superman books: Adventures of Superman, Superman, Man of Steel, and Action Comics.
I was going to say, at the end of the trade, they show you where all the comics are from, and they were all Superman, like the title of Superman, but they were all different numbers. I'm like, this is so confusing.
Yeah. So the thing that makes that interesting is, well, first, it makes it very expensive if you're buying Superman monthly
Yes.
at this time. But the thing that also matters is stories happens very, very quickly then. So, like, Sly was mentioning, the whole Return of Superman is a really, really long block, but it only took a year because in that year they released 50 issues because it's 12 issues of each book. You know, each book comes out every month. So, like, even though this is the 4 different books, it happened in only like a 2-month period. So the pacing of the story is usually a lot quicker when it's like, okay, these are happening very, very quickly. So the writers are Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Louis Simonson, and Roger Stern, who are all like, if you're a fan of 80s and 90s comics, these are like pretty big top names. And the pencilers are John Bogdanov, Tom Grummett, Jackson Guise, and Dan Jurgens. So Dan Jurgens wrote and penciled a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. We'll talk about Dan Jurgens because Phil has a criticism of his art, which I like, but one specific instance of flaw in his work.
Flaw or brilliancy? Brilliance?
He might have been like a
Avant-garde.
prophet.
Avant-garde,
The
like-
prophet of the man babies.
Hey, spoilers.
We'll get to the band baby soon.
All right,
So should we jump into this?
yes.
Let's.
Cool. Oh, and it was also, if you're interested, the issues themselves are Superman the Man of Steel 17 to 19, Superman 73 to 75, the Adventures
Just get the
of
fucking
Superman-
trade, because this is so many
Yeah,
fucking...
just get the trade. Don't
get the
worry
trade.
about
Yeah,
it.
as if someone's gonna go collect those individual.
Yeah, track down these individual comics. The people that you're advising this to already own those comics.
Yeah,
That's true. So
like
get
there's
the
some
trade.
novice that's like, sounds interesting.
Yeah, just get the trade.
Okay, so our story of the death of Superman starts with I think it's 4 different comic issues. It's at the
It
very
is.
end of them, and
Yeah.
it's just this green arm punching at this metal wall, and it's saying somewhere else, "Doomsday is coming," and it
It
spins.
says Krang, Krang, Krang.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because it's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles tie-in.
They're all Krang.
But like Dad suggested, these were like basically you're reading a regular Superman story, and this was like a teaser for what's coming up, where this guy's punching this wall.
Yeah, and you get to see like how each artist draws the arm. It's like the first one has like a lot of techno stuff all over his arm. The next one just has like a wire. And as this being is punching at the wall, slowly the glove and the suit that covers the arm is slowly ripping off, and you see like these bony, spiky, like opal bones.
Like spikes growing out, like made out of bone coming out
Yeah.
of his arm.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like unrelentingly, Doomsday is coming. Krang, krang, krang. Unstoppably, krang, krang, krang. Doomsday is coming, and he's slowly punching through, and then finally, unbelievably, krang, krang, krang. Kroom. Doomsday is here.
And he breaks through the door.
Yep.
And we see somewhere on Earth, Krang.
And squawking. Squawk, so squawk. Krang, krang, kroom, kroom.
These are all sound effects of the punching.
Yeah, it sounds really dumb, but it's actually kind of cool because you see that it's like open field, and you see this fist like bursting through the earth because apparently this thing was buried
Super deep in like some metal container to hold it. And then...
And the last sound effect is crack-a-doom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I want to talk about this design for the creature is actually I think it's kind of cool in both ways they take it. Because in the beginning he's in his like containment suit.
I was going to save it for when we got to see more of his face.
But when we see like more of his face, I'll talk about it too. But I do want to talk about his containment suit because I think it's a cool concept. Because he spends most of the early issues with his hand literally tied behind his back, but he still wreaks so much havoc.
But this electronic wiring is tied behind his back, so he can only use the arm that he used to punch through the...
Yeah.
I like that a lot, and that's probably just the inner anime fan in me, but I love in fucking shonen anime when you have like the villain who can like do just as well as the hero, and he's like, "This isn't even my final form."
Yeah.
Like, I've been wearing weights that are like the weight of like 10 buildings.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually gonna fight
Doomsday
you
is
for real.
fully clad in just like this green jumpsuit from head to toe, and he has like these red goggle eyes on.
It also makes him look very cold and distant too, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only part of his body you can see is now the fist that was punching through the wall. The glove is ripped off, so you see just that bony stuff, and that's it.
Yeah.
I do like they keep him hidden for so long because it does make him feel super mysterious.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me like a serial killer where you're anticipating the mask coming off with some movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perhaps the weirdest part when I originally read this story is that they did not explain his origin. I'm so used to comic books being like, the villain sits down, it's like, let me tell you a tale about...
The reason I'm doing this
Yeah.
is because 10 years ago, someone, killed my mom.
Yeah, and Doomsday says nothing. He's just this creature that's, as like the comic goes on, he's just walking places and destroying anything that's in his path.
He's just a force of nature. He's not
Yeah.
even like a character. He's just a force of nature.
Yeah.
So, speaking of this issue, half of it is about Superman going to fight these super... I'm sorry, this might be offensive to me. I know it's not PC, but these guys are ugly. They're like these... They call themselves, the mutants?
That's okay to say now. We can call people ugly.
Yeah.
Thank God.
They're like a 4 at best.
Yeah, they're...
Like, I wouldn't sexually assault them. Like, they're too ugly.
Yeah. They're just like these creatures, and
They live on the ground. I call them the mole people, basically.
If you're an X-Men fan, they're Morlocks.
Yeah. That's what I thought of.
but they're all like, or at least these ones that are trying to take over the world are all evil.
This whole thing is not really related to Doomsday, but I would compare it to like in a movie. Sometimes you have like in Amazing Spider-Man 2, you have him fight an unrelated character to show off Superman or the main hero a little bit before getting
Yeah.
to the main story. So this is kind of like that kind of
Yeah,
thing going on.
Yeah, it's just like, it's standard comic booky stuff. Because when I was reading, I'm like, this is just real dumb. So,
Yeah.
It's goofy, but I don't think there's some nice character moments in it with Superman. Because just to mention, because the mutants are noticed by a little kid, and this little kid was a black orphan kid. He doesn't want to tell them because they told this little kid beforehand that if you're telling us we have your mom hostage, we'll kill her. So he's trying to find a way to alert Superman without getting his mom killed. And he's like, he gets this yellow spray can to basically alert Superman. And he doesn't do it, but he doesn't do it until he infiltrates the mutants organization and finds out they don't have his mom. And his mom, and he basically realized like he was holding on to false belief that his mom was still alive, just because he was so desperate to believe that he believed these fucking mutant pieces of shit.
And it's such a tiny thing, but the only part about that plot that I actually like that I wanted to mention was he's like, Superman will save me. He saved me twice before. Like, he's the best. And when Superman gets there, he calls him by name, and he's like, oh, Keith, are you okay?
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just some, like, no-name filler character that actually isn't a no-name filler character to Superman, like, he remembers every person he saves. And that, like, to me is pretty good stuff.
So as the story is occurring, in between every couple pages, you just get like panels of Doomsday walking, and it's like the first instance where you get to know that this guy's a bad guy is he's standing out in this field and he reaches his hand out because he sees some birds, and a little yellow bird lands in his hand, and then he just crushes it and goes ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cheesy that he like as he kills animals in all these panels, he just goes ha ha ha.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that he laughs. He's like, this is funny.
Yeah, because he does it again with a deer, where he just like chokes this deer out, and he's just like, ha.
Well, it's not like he's like, as you clarify later on, it's not like he does much besides laugh or make grunting noises in the
Yeah.
I
story.
know, but that kind of is like, it's funny that the only version of like showing like emoting is just him going ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point, like, because like they're slowly showing you what Doomsday's like, because you see his cute little bird flying his hand, and you don't really know what Doomsday really is, and he just crushes it and starts laughing. So
Well,
it's
yeah, we know it's to establish that he's evil, but
Yeah.
it's that he laughs after he kills animals. It's just like, he's so bad.
Yeah, and like I feel like killing a little bird is like such a cliched
Yeah,
thing
it
to
is.
have a villain do.
Because it's not like you saw it go into his hand, and you're like,
I never. Maybe it's because I haven't. I've seen so much fucking sympathetic villains over the last few years.
That's fair.
I've
It's 'cause
never.
I feel like in modern times, because sympathetic villains are a really cool thing to construct, Whereas like back then, if you just watch like any old like bad or mediocre media, they always show villains doing the most evil thing possible to establish their evil.
But it's usually shown as a campy thing. But this is really shown like.
You've never seen that where a bird flies into a villain's hand and he crushes it?
But it's played very campy. Usually, he's never played straight. Like look, like it's usually like I love being evil. It's not played like this thing is treated like it's an engine of destruction.
That's why I felt like when I read that scene, it's like that's silly. Whereas like in the other ones where he's just destroying stuff and not laughing, I feel like that's the engine of destruction that Doomsday is.
Yeah, I'm on their side. Sorry, Sly.
So you all unanimously agree that Louis Simmonson's a shit writer?
No, I love Louis Simonson.
No,
I know, but you're like, I don't like this Morlock story. I don't like this fucking kid story. I don't like this. None of it is good.
I
It's all
do
shit.
enjoy Doomsday. It's just a little silly. It's like that's his first reaction is like I'm so evil, like I laugh at things dying.
Especially like a little bird like this. I've done it.
Me, Doomsday, who's capable of killing Superman, has killed this bird.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, he dies in the death of Superman.
But also keep in mind, he's been locked up, wanting to kill things for a long time, and now he gets a chance to. That's his first victory. So
We don't know his backstory, Sly, because it's not given to us.
Yeah.
We don't.
He was buried deep underground in a cell.
you can look at assuming he was locked up. So now it's his first kid. He's like, yes, ha ha ha.
Maybe he woke up. I didn't know if he woke up from like cryogenic sleep.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was just created or something too.
Yeah.
I just know he was in there for a while because, as you can see, he's more and more bound as he.
But he couldn't have been for that long because he's got all this like future tech all over him.
All right, we're gonna be analyzing this.
Yeah. Why did he kill the bird in issue
Poor
1?
bird. As he's going around, like he goes to a tree and he just punches it and destroys it instantly, and then is destroying its rubble. And then I like the change in like his strength of where he crushes a bird in the first scene he's at, and then they show him at a highway and he takes out one of like the support pillars holding up an overpass, and it just collapses
With one arm.
Yeah, with one arm, and it just collapses the entire thing. And it's like, okay, he is quite a lot stronger than just.
And he goes ha 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 ha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kadoom.
What a corny fucker, right?
And-
what a shit villain. This book sucks.
So again, in between this, it's Superman like saving Lois Lane because she got captured, and then being a good man, and
Being a good Superman.
yeah, being a good excuse me, and then
Telling his CI in the underworld, like, hey, you should let us know about more fucking mutant underground gangs.
yeah.
And the weird cross-eyed CI looks at the camera and he goes, "Bloodthirst is our problem, but it's good to know if we can't handle him, we can call in Superman."
I originally thought the panel above that ugly bald guy. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say he's ugly because he's actually human. That the guy I think is ugly. I thought he was the man baby.
No,
No.
we'll get into it later. We'll get into it.
The man baby is the baby.
Yeah, I know. I saw. But I didn't know because he looks like he has baby soft features.
All people are very. When you get older, like Benjamin Button alludes to, you become more baby-like. You become smaller. You become,
More like a Neanderthal.
Yeah, exactly. See,
Jeez.
You poop yourself.
This guy's ugly, man.
All right. Anyway.
man, there has to point out.
For some reason,
Donald Trump over here is fucking pointing out everyone's ugly. The kid's ugly and you get passed by death.
I know, poor Namor. So then there's a semi driving along a highway, and he sees Doomsday. He's like, "Hey, buddy, get out of the way!" And Doomsday just punches the semi, destroys it, and laughs. Yeah. And then another guy's like, "Oh no, we need help! There's a monster on the road with one hand tied behind his back."
Yeah, he calls the state troopers with that.
Yeah.
I like how they're like, "Did you say monster?" As if there aren't there constant monsters attacking New York?
But then the guy says, "Yeah, big as a fucking house."
No, but here's what, because he calls the guy they're calling is a member of the Justice League. So what happens is I think he's watching the state trooper channels, and he's like, "Oh, I'm keeping an eye out for a monster assault and not just a regular state trooper shit." Like I think it's what's going on.
I had no idea who this guy was. He looks like Dr. Wily.
Yeah, he's one of Ryan's. Okay, just to clarify, he's one of Ryan's favorite characters, and all these
He's
characters.
not one of my favorite characters.
You like him? You mean you're a fucking D&D character after him?
You suck his dick, Ryan, don't you?
No, I like him, but I just wouldn't say he's on my list of favoriteest characters.
Sly is throwing Ryan under the bus right now. Or the semi.
I don't care about this guy. Let's move on. We have to get through 6 more issues.
All right, let's move on to more people we don't care about.
Okay.
So these are characters that Ryan loves, but no one cares about. Just to
Oh,
clarify.
Sly.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into crazy detail. All you have to know is this Justice League is all like super D-listers, and they're from a book that that like this is the like Justice League International era, and it's just like much more of like a sitcom and like like emotional character driven book than like, you know, Superman and the Flash fighting like gods and stuff.
All you need to know is that they're flying around in this thing that looks like a little bug or a frog or something.
Blue Beetle's Beetle ship, whatever the fuck it's called.
Whatever.
Yeah. So
it's like when you see that, you're like, oh, you guys are fucking lame.
But that is the stigma that these characters have, and that's why I love the book so much, because they're viewed as a joke, and like, but they still are such strong, well-developed characters.
Maybe they should be flying around a Blue Beetle.
Okay, whatever. So we don't need to get into it like crazy, but like Blue Beetle's just like a tech guy.
Blue Beetle's what Night Blue Beetle's what Night Owl was based on in
Watchmen.
Watchmen. So just imagine Night Owl except beetles instead of owls in your coast.
So the characters that really matter for this story are Blue Beetle, Guy Gardner, Booster Gold, Ice, and Maxima.
And if you're like me, you don't know who any of those are.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to tell you.
I know Blue Beetle from you. I know Guy Gardner from you. I know Booster Gold from you. And by that I mean I've heard you say all these names while I was not paying attention. So I'm like I know that person, but I don't know.
So
but just to quickly clarify them. Ice shoots ice. Fire shoots fire.
No, they're okay. Fire doesn't matter.
We're gonna fucking clarify all this shit. Ice.
No,
ice.
the powers don't matter.
Guy
That's what I'm
Gardner
saying.
is a failed Green Lantern. He has a
Slide.
a
Let me
failed
do
Green
this.
Lantern
This is
ring.
my thing. These are my favorite characters.
We're gonna go into all how they're so great
No,
and how
all I'm saying. Listen.
So I got so mad from before he's out to destroy this podcast.
All I'm saying is Guy Gardner, who's gonna show up later in this saga, is a like super like Reagan era like jock that's just like Superman's a big pussy, you know, a bunch of PC bullshit. We need like no Boy Scouts but like real men.
He's a
to do
Trump
their
supporter.
bidding. He's a Trump supporter. And Ice is like super sweet. Blue Beetle is like
she's naive and sweet. Like she's
naive and sweet. And Blue Beetle is like all tech. He's an inventor, and him and Booster Gold are like the Abbott and Costello of the DC universe. They're like goofballs that are just like hearts of gold, but like everyone thinks they're a big joke. Booster Gold has like a force field and like a suit that gives him just like generic superpowers. He can fly and shoot lasers or whatever. And Maxima is like a super warmongery Superman type character.
Yeah, she's
who's
an
really
alien.
strong.
Is her power just be like really strong and fly and stuff?
Yeah.
basically Superman with like telepathy and pure.
She's basically Superman, but instead of being a Boy Scout, she's like
An Amazon.
must conquer all worlds.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So they are the Justice League shows up to like contain the destruction.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
How can this is just a general comic question? How can you be so strong and not have muscles?
Because
It wasn't muscles.
Like someone like Maxima or Jessica Jones. I watch them and I'm like, wouldn't you be super buff?
But wouldn't you be Harvey buff because you can't work out?
But then where's the? Never mind.
Yeah,
But you don't fucking argue about this.
Judge-
Well, how's Hulk stop a train?
Wait.
The momentum will be overwhelm his fucking. Whatever,
Wait,
go on.
Judgmental Daryl has an observation. It's because then they would be muscular women, which is ugly.
I think it's more that like Maxima's an alien, so like her body's different.
Yeah, she's allowed to be
know-
kind of lean and thin.
And like Superman doesn't use his muscles to lift; he uses the solar radiation that his Kryptonian body.
Then how come
absorbs.
he has huge muscles?
Oh my god, can we get in this fucking conversation, please?
I'm sorry,
beg,
guys.
I beg of you.
Okay. So basically, the Justice League is just like doing Justice League stuff and like putting out fires and saving people that were caught in the explosions that Doomsday had. And meanwhile, Superman is on a talk show. And basically, his whole talk show is like people just asking him questions that are like, why should we like Superman? And he's like, 'cause I'm really nice.
And the way this is set up in the comic is that for the next like couple of pages, it's Superman in one panel at the top with the talk show host. Well, there's the rest of the Justice League action going down below in multiple
And they have like
panels.
in the top, whatever the questions being asked in the top panel relates to what's happening in the bottom. Like they ask him, like, "Isn't Guy Gardner a dick? Don't you hate Superman?" He's like, "No, I don't hate him." And meanwhile, Guy Gardner's getting his face punched in by Doomsday.
Yeah. So Doomsday, it keeps cutting between like we said, the talk show and the fight, but the Justice League's just flying past Doomsday, and Doomsday picks up a tree and throws it through the Blue Beetle's like flying ship. So
He's like, "That ship's lame." He's Daryl, actually.
and they don't even they're not going to they don't even know about Doomsday. They just know that there's like this explosion.
And there's a monster supposedly around.
Yeah, it's some monster, and then they all like crash, and only a couple of them can fly. So it's like they're pretty terrified by this thing that happened, and you know,
it's a pretty cool panel too. Like, it's not like he like speared it and it like is stuck in it. It like shattered the entire ship as it went through. He threw it so hard it like blew up the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, you know, you have like regular Americans being like, "What do you superheroes do when you're not bashing bad guys?" And
Bashing
Superman's
gays.
like, and Superman's like, "Let me give you some exposition. Like, Blue Beetle likes to invent. Guy Gardner is a jackass." and
I always wonder how you can justify going on a talk show as Superman because like literally people are dying somewhere and you're not like.
Well, it becomes relevant here on because he can't justify it. Like, and people say he's fucking lame. He quits the talk show before it was finished because he had to go save some fucking kids.
Yeah. So the Justice League encounters Doomsday, and they're like, "We're the Justice League. We can take these." And Guy Gardner, who's like always the first one to throw the punch, gets like decimated. Like Doomsday grabs his face and just shoves it into concrete.
I thought he was pretty much dead. He throws him down onto the ground. He stamps his head down into concrete. Then he punches him with his spiky bone fists.
And basically he punches his face so hard, his eyes are so puffy. For the rest of the issue, he can't see straight. They literally make that plot point. He can't even see anymore.
So is he like Green Lantern where you can have like a force field around him?
Yeah.
That's like keeping him alive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And basically, he's Green Lantern, but instead of green, he's yellow. That's all you need to know.
He's a yellow-bellied coward.
They really emphasize too how fast Doomsday is here, which is something that the art doesn't do as much as like the way he kicks everyone's asses. They don't even realize what's happening. Like
I actually really love that because it's one thing to fight a slow and strong guy, but fighting a guy who you can't react to, he's so fast, is fucking scary.
They do like the stereotypical comic thing where they're like, I have to jump out of the way in time to use my, and like Guy Gardner tries to do that. He's like so fast I didn't even see him, and he just gets smashed into the ground before he can think about that.
Yeah. And now the talk show is being, I guess streamed isn't the right word for 1993, but it's being broadcast. Yeah, into a high school classroom, and there's like some punk kid who is like, "Man, Superman's a yawner. They should have talked to Guy Gardner instead." And
Guy Gardner's cool. I'm Ryan Lynch.
Also, this guy has long hair and a backwards baseball cap, so you know his attitude.
Oh my god, he is me in college.
I did think about that reading. I was like, this is like freshman year, Ryan.
But the thing that I do like about the way they frame this is I didn't know any of these characters either when I read it. And like you get a sense of their personalities without being like, let's walk through everyone else in these big splash pages.
Yeah.
And I went on to like fall in love with these characters separately, but I think this is a good introduction to them. And then you have like some jackass that's like, do fire and ice score as high on the babe-o-meter as it seems? And Superman's like, I'm not going to answer that question. They're good teammates, and like I'm moral and honest, and I'm not going to judge or sexually assault women.
But he didn't rebuke him for it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't grab them by the pussy. But, you know.
That's one of the things I feel like would just be like a slight difference now. Is he'd be like, you shouldn't ask, like, don't judge these people on their looks. Judgmental Daryl says.
Maybe we're too much in the PC bullshit culture, huh?
As you can tell, listeners, we are working through some issues right now.
I know we didn't want to go through the point by point of the fight, but I do want to say like this fight is so fucking cool because it's like it goes through the Justice League all trying to stop Doomsday, and it's like in an action anime or show where they're like you really see how these people who are supposed to be pretty strong as a team can't do shit to him.
Yeah.
Like Fire's trying to burn him. He's just walking through it, and then this guy Bloodwind, who I didn't know before, he stops in front of him as if
calls upon the spirits of the dead.
Yeah, he's like, I will deal with him, as if he's like so strong that like now finally Bloodwind will do it. And he calls upon the spirits of the dead, punches him, and then Doomsday just throws him through like a gas tank.
Yeah.
Just like no problem.
And meanwhile, we're getting conversations like this. I was, wondering, Superman, if there's anything out there that, really frightens you. I mean, I'd get scared facing all that stuff. He says, good question, miss. See, one way or another, fear's always part of the job. I'm afraid of failure and afraid of hurting innocent people. And to be candid, yes, I've been afraid for myself. I've encountered things powerful enough to kill me. But what about all, hitting and violence? Don't you get tired of it? I mean, isn't there a better way to work things out than caving in someone's head? Believe me when I say I wish the violence wasn't necessary, but violence is the price we pay to accomplish a greater good. As heroes, we choose to protect that good. And while he's saying this, Blue Beetle is like running around trying to be like the tactician, and Doomsday smashes his head into like a concrete bar, and Blue Beetle's just like
repeatedly.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
And he says, someone please help me. And he throws Blue Beetle, basically like snapping his back in like a ruined building. And that's when they cut to the special report that the Justice League is getting like rammed in Ohio. And Superman's like, I hope it's something I can help with. And he's like, I have to go. And he flies off to save them. And while he's on his way, Booster Gold gets beaten so fucked.
and just emphasize like how fast he's. I like because they show Booster Gold like part of the way putting up his force field, and Doomsday was like far away from him, and he's already about to punch him. Like that's how fast he was. Like,
Yeah,
He's still saying, "Gotta get my force field up before," and then the fist just hits him, and it hits him so hard he launches.
He flies to Superman.
he's like Booster Gold's blasting off again.
yeah, like it literally is like a Team Rocket punch where
Yeah.
he just goes away.
Isn't Blue Beetle like a regular guy? I felt bad for him
Yeah.
because, like, I could understand where it's like superhuman or extraterrestrial characters like Maxima getting beat up and she's able to come back, but it's like no human could.
I'm gonna get to this in my recommendation.
Okay.
Don't worry. But Superman catches Booster, and he says, Booster's like, trouble's not the word, Superman. I'm telling you right now, it's like Doomsday in here. And Booster's the one who names him.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
I thought you said Doomsday in here, not Doomsday is here. It's like Doomsday in here. What's the matter with you?
Oh, no, he does say Doomsday is here. I misspoke.
Especially 3.
So, now, countdown to Doomsday. And it opens with Blue Beetle, like, pretty almost dead.
Yeah.
And Ice and Maxima are like, he's dying. And Maxima wants to fly off and be a warrior. And she's like, no, please save him. And
Ice is like begging her to save.
yeah, and she's like, no, warriors deserve to die a warrior death.
Yeah, he's dying a warrior death, no problem.
Yeah.
And she's like, please, please, please. And this is why I love Dan Jurgens, because like I've read this whole Justice League run, and Maxima is still a non-character to me that I could fucking give a shit about. But this is like a good scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she takes Blue Beetle to the hospital.
I finally convinced her, like, we're part of a family. You can't just let people die. You have to. And Maxima still's not fully buying it, but she's just like, you help me, so I have to help you then.
Yeah. And Maxima leaves with Blue Beetle, and Ice is like, I'll stop Doomsday, which she's not going to.
Yeah, which is so funny.
The craziest thing.
Literally, she says he sent Booster Gold into orbit, and she's like, but I can ice him or something, like fucking Iceman.
Well, no, but then she thinks to herself, like, I can't do it.
I would compare this to, like, Jubilee saying, I'll take care of Magneto. Don't worry, X-Men.
No, like Apocalypse.
But she says that out loud to Maxima to convince Maxima to leave. But then she thinks, like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. He shredded my team. I just make ice cubes. Like, I don't know. So now we get this kid, the kid that was like, I'd rather talk to Guy Gardner.
Ryan Lynch. We get Ryan Lynch.
Yeah, we got
He's such a piece of shit.
high school Ryan Lynch.
This kid or Ryan Lynch?
Both.
Yes.
So he's like, I love Fridays. I hate school. Homework sucks.
My mom sucks. What did she do to make Dad leave us?
And he's on a skateboard.
He says, home sweet home. What a dump. I mean, I hate this hole.
Yeah, just like me, hating home. So she's like, and he gets home and his mom's like, Mitch, is that you? And he's like, no, it's Axl Rose in the band. And then he's just a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, he complains that they don't have any soda because she's been taking care of the baby and she didn't go to the store. His dad always had soda. Maybe that's why he divorced you, because you don't ever have soda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she starts crying because you fucking just said your husband divorced you because you don't buy enough soda, you fucking
And he's
shitty
like,
mom.
whatever, I'm going to Aaron's house.
He does look sad in one panel where he's like, wow, I can't believe I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah, like
Yeah, when his mom starts crying, he's like, oh,
Oops.
I am.
you can tell it's not that far out from a typical teenage kid where you're, before you develop empathy fully, where you act like an asshole and you cause pain, but you feel like I can't be uncool and apologize,
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
That's
like,
what I
he
think it is.
knows he's an asshole, but he doesn't know how to be any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Phil...
So Ryan Lynch.
Yeah. And meanwhile, she's like trying to feed the baby. You want to talk about this baby, Phil?
Sure, and I think in some panels this baby's a normal baby. It just looks like a baby. But I think because comic book artists are normally drawing like grown buff men, that in many panels this baby has the face of a 45-year-old man.
It looks like a shrunken down man in some panels.
Yeah, like actually in the panel where she's crying, like look at that baby from the side. Is that not a man? Is that not a man?
It is.
Tell me.
Are you
That's
not a man?
Or are you a baby?
And throughout, as this baby's like seeing the carnage going on later, he just like sometimes he's a baby, sometimes he's a man, and that's that's all I have to say. And I made fun of this when
And I love Dan Jurgens.
I remember like being in middle school making fun of this in front of Sly. And he was like, "This comic's awesome! You can't say that." And I was just like,
the next panel after Man Baby, you have Ice getting thrown through the window by Doomsday. It looks fucking badass. You're not gonna say that's a good art?
It is good art.
Like,
I just think
but just like you said, so you draw men, super buff men for a long time. Maybe when you draw babies, you instinctually draw a buff man as a baby.
I think that's what happened.
So yeah, I love Dan Jurgens a lot.
Like that jawline on this man baby.
Sometimes people like do too many wrinkles on babies, and that's the problem.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I love the scene of Ice just getting thrown through this window and landing on the counter.
yeah.
Especially because the last thing we saw of her was, I gotta go find a way to stop Doomsday.
It's like, you're gonna die.
So at this point, Booster Gold and Superman land outside, and they're like, "We have to stop this." And Doomsday punches Superman right in the chest, and he just like takes it like a man. And
He does that Superman pose where he's just like hands on hips, and he's like, "I'm Superman, you can't hurt me."
when I said it, I did the pose, and then I was like, "Wait, this is radio."
And I like they do kind of the quasi anime thing where Onloku's like, "Oh my god, that was such a big punch." Where the mom was like, "Wow, that punch is like a curve." Caved in the mountain. Superman took it, and Ryan Lynch says, "Big deal. The split was too slow and stupid to duck."
And then Doomsday kicks him in the nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, he throws him he kicks him through the building, and again we get some like to show his power. Superman's like, "Wow, I've never been hit that hard before."
yeah,
Well, yeah, he gets kicked through the house, and it knocks their whole house down.
yeah.
Yeah. I do like. I know I said this to you guys already in the past, yesterday, but I liked this story so much partially because it really feels like a Dragon Ball Z saga in comic form.
Yeah.
Where like a lot of this whole story is super overpowered people throwing each other through houses, through mountains, and someone like Doomsday constantly does this like anime villain thing where he keeps getting like more.
He's like, I barely
progressively,
felt that. Like, I almost.
Yeah. And like they're literally punching each other so hard that like glass is shattering and stuff like that.
Shockwaves are forming around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucking awesome. I love that so much.
Yeah. And speaking of that kind of destruction, Doomsday grabs Booster Gold and slams his head into a tree so bad that it knocks the whole tree down, and Booster passes out on top of a stump.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt so bad for all these poor Justice Leaguers.
Like, that's what it, like, you feel for them, right? Because they're just getting shredded.
Because again, it's sort of like the battle of Goku fighting like Nappa and Vegeta, or the Dragon Ball team fighting them, where everyone's waiting for Goku to arrive, and they're just basically throwing their weak bodies at.
No, it literally is that. It is when they're fighting them, and like Goku's running back. We know he'll be here hopefully today, and we have to stop the planet from being destroyed.
Yeah,
and we can't win, but we have to just try.
When did
and
that
just-
start? When did Dragon Ball Z start?
Like 1990s, like 80, late 80s and early 90s.
Okay, so it's like around the same time,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I wonder if one influenced the other, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, that's how I was thinking. It's like this is very like this has certain anime tropes in it
It does.
that like anime probably took from.
And I think like that enhanced my enjoyment of this a lot because I make fun of comics a lot.
Because you're a weeaboo.
Become a weeaboo. No, I think anime is really dumb sometimes too. But having this combination of like the like comic world and all these superheroes, but with a lot of these anime tropes, was just really cool to me.
Yeah, it's because it does like really over the top stuff, which is really cool to see get drawn.
Yeah.
Because you see so many overpowered people in comics, but you usually don't see such like they use their power to their full extent.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
You don't see
it's
like
just all-
brawls.
I actually want to mention that because one reason why Superman probably gets accused of being lame while Goku's considered cool is because Goku regularly gets into fights where it's, how do I beat this guy? He can fucking destroy mountains. While Superman, the writers were always lazy. Like, they literally did this where they said, we can't challenge him physically because he's Superman, so we just make him get challenged mentally, and they will get goofy villains like Toyman and Mr. Mix-6. Like,
Hey, don't you shit on Mr. Mixopolitic.
But they literally until like this is a recent thing where they finally said, hey, let's have him like when Superman died in the 60s, they had a Death of Superman Elseworld. In the 60s, they had literally Superman kill him with kryptonite. But when they did it this time, they said, let's not have it be a mental battle. Let's not have it be outsmarted. Let's have Superman just get the fucking shit beat out of him and create a villain that can beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, which is way cooler.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool, and I know anime does overdo it sometimes because when your whole premise of your show is who can beat Goku, and you keep having to make people stronger and stronger, eventually it does get ridiculous.
Yeah, after
but
300
at the-
episodes, you get to also
Yeah.
a point where you're like, this is no longer exciting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I think that idea that's what makes Dragon Ball Z like a somewhat interesting show, and I think that's what makes the action in this comic pretty good.
So I want to get to one of my favorite moments of this whole book. So
Give me another anime part?
Yeah, pretty much. So Doomsday's trying to kill this baby because he's like, I hate man babies.
Look at that man baby in that where he's yelling. He's like, help.
Mother, help me!
Superman jumps in the middle and tries to give them time to get away. And at this point, the rest of the league shows up and they're like, okay, team, give it all you got. And all the team with range is like blasting him. So you have like someone shooting fire, Booster shooting like laser beams, guys using his ring, Bloodwind, who's the less said about him the better, is using some sort of weird magic vision.
Yeah, it's 5 different like colored lasers all blasting Doomsday.
And not to harp on this too much, but this is literally when they're fighting Cell, and like every member of the Z Squad all shoots him at the same time, and he's just like, well, you can continue this, Brian.
Yeah. So they're blasting him and blasting him and blasting him, and then one by one they like the fire runs out of flame and passes out. Booster Gold's like suit runs out of energy and passes out, and so he's just left in the smoke. And it cuts to, for the first time we see his face. We see half of it, and just like his hands have these like bones sticking out, like he's got like a beard of like bones. And like his eyes are covered with bones. Like evolutionarily, none of it makes any sense. But it
they're
looks
like
so
crystalline looking things.
I think it looks cool.
I love the design.
I don't like his design that much.
Oh, I think it's cool.
I think it's badass.
cool.
I think like I like the idea of like you have all these like weird bony diamond protrusions coming out of you, but then he has like this really like wild and long hair, and I feel like the stuff over the eyes is a little weird.
No, I think
Like
it's cool. 'cause it's
it doesn't
weird.
have a lot of like.
It's unique. I think the fact that you might say it's weird, but I think that makes it. I mean, that makes it weird. Also makes it like something you've never seen before, really. And especially not a Superman comic. Like most Superman comics are like fucking guys in pink tights. Like
Yeah.
This guy looks like a fucking like a literal monster with bones.
What the fuck is his suit made out of that it didn't all disintegrate in that blast?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Well, it's a suit that kept this guy contained,
Yeah,
so
I
it
guess
has to
so.
be like
I guess
crazy.
so,
It's probably some super science suit.
And he finally breaks his other arm out too.
Yeah, so at this point he breaks the other arm and immediately just decimates everybody.
in one
He
panel.
he punches in one panel. Superman, Booster Gold, he knees fire in the face, kicks Guy Gardner and whatever.
Bloodwind's just like whoa in the background.
He like charges through the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he really beats the shit out of Booster Gold. And Dan Jurgens wrote and drew this. He created Booster Gold. Usually when someone creates a character, they make him the best. Having his own character get like this fucking mangled I respect Dan Jurgens a lot for that.
You never see that nowadays. Nowadays, Booster Gold will be like, I'm done holding the line, but back then
Yeah.
they actually had an attempt to be unpartisan of their fucking fan favorites.
Yeah.
And they do show a lot of like Doomsday's not just like we said before strong, but like every time someone's going to attack him from another angle, you see like a cut to his eyes looking to the side, again kind of like a fucking Cell. But he'll grab Booster Gold and throw him into the guy who's coming at him, or
Guy Gardner,
he's,
literally.
Yeah.
He's very quick.
Yeah. So Doomsday like totally takes out everybody, blows up the house. There's fire everywhere, and then he just leaps away. And Superman's like, "No way is that maniac escaping me."
One of the cool things about Doomsday is that he's not like omnipotent. He can't fly. He just jumps from.
He's
place
like the
to
Hulk.
place.
Like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now at this point, the mom is unconscious, the baby is just like there, and the asshole kid is like, "Oh man, like the fire's everywhere, I can't get out," and like my mom's like unconscious, and he's like, "The JLA looks way out of it or worse," and we get like just panels of them all like Guy Gardner's just he looks like he's dead, everybody's just so fucked, and he's like, "Even Guy Gardner is down," and then he starts yelling for help from Superman. And Superman is just about to grab Doomsday. He's flying after him, and he hears him, and he's like, "That boy I saw, I can hear him calling, but I have to ignore it. I'm so close." And he's like, "Help us, please. If I let Doomsday get away, there's no telling what devastation he'll be responsible for. Much as it pains me, I have to stay with him and block out that plea for help." And the kid's like, "Please, Superman, you just gotta come back. Please." And the issue ends. And it's fucking really... This issue's really good.
Yeah.
I agree.
It does well at establishing what a menace Doomsday is by using another team
And what a hero Superman is.
Yeah.
by ignoring a kid's pleas for help.
No, but it's showing the internal struggle, and
also that was a fan of Man of Steel, so worth bringing up here. Like this, when Superman fans talk about why Superman is a good character, and now because like Spider-Man and other characters would like maybe potentially decide to go after a villain over the little kid crying for help. But as we get to part 4, you'll see that Superman, no matter what, he has to save civilians.
and having Superman have the doubt like this menace needs to be stopped for Superman is a really big deal.
If you have to save civilians, like he's definitely gonna go kill more civilians than those 3.
Well, that's the conflict where Superman's like, somebody's yelling for help from me. Like, I'm his only
right
hope.
now.
So
Right,
are you
yeah.
saying that the answer to the moral question, like the philosophical question of is one life worth many, you're gonna be like, no, it's so clear that it's not.
I'm gonna say that it's not like the fucking rail cart question. It's like he's gonna go blow up the world. This guy's so strong.
That's against Superman's nature to let somebody.
I know, and I get it because it's like you might think long term like he's gonna do more damage, but literally,
And it's different when you hear him crying,
Yeah.
there is a baby here on fire.
yeah. No.
A man, baby, that you're letting die, Superman.
Help! I'm burning.
Yeah.
All right, so starting issue 4. That's fucking narration from the kid we don't need.
He just narrates what happens. Because back then, they didn't have recap pages, so they actually narrate. Oh my god, I can't believe Superman's flying away after Doomsday beat up Justice League. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And then basically somehow Doomsday gets behind Superman and
Well, he turns back to be like, the League's not coming. I thought the League would help him.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, the League's passed out," and then Doomsday just smacks him in the face.
he punches him. The art here is so fucking good because when he punches him, like it just you feel it as like such a powerful hit. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it really, but it just
Wham!
yeah, wham.
Yeah.
And then you see some like narration from the kid far away thinking that sounded like a thunderclap.
Yeah.
So it's like, you get a sense that this guy is so fucking strong. But Superman realizes
I do just want to point out, because we kept saying Dan Jurgens, at this point it's Tom Grummett, who also does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
All the art for all these are they're great.
really good. Yeah. And then Superman realizes Doomsday can't fly, he can only leap.
Oh,
So
wait, has the countdown started? Are these all panels are these all pages?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
As you get further into the story, the panels get bigger and bigger, and right now we're still like relatively 4 panels a page, but it gets more and more.
Not relatively, it is 4 panels a page.
Yeah, every single page in this issue has 4 panels on it.
And it gets less and less as the comic gets.
Yep, Nexus 3, that one. Because when I first read this, I knew at the end of it, I'm like, this is so cool because everything's a full page panel.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then Ryan was like, hey, did you know about like the other issues? I was like, what?
Yeah, same thing. I thought the last issue was so cool for that style, but I didn't realize it was like a countdown thing.
And
Yeah.
it's you don't notice. I didn't notice it when I first read it either, but it subconsciously gives you this like, holy shit, these stakes
Yeah.
are being upped.
It's not like all these little things happening anymore. It's like by the end you're like it's just them fighting.
Yeah, because the pictures are getting bigger and bigger, so there's like more at stake. And again, it's so subtle enough that like most of us didn't realize it reading the first time. And that's my favorite is when you're able to do like more of a meta concept like that, and it pulls like you pull it off without feeling hokey.
You
or
feel it,
weird
but don't even
or
notice it.
artificial.
Yeah.
Like Red Letter Media says, you didn't notice it, but your brain did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that is a really good that is the best way to do any kind of effect in fiction, I think, is like it's a subconscious thing where you get more anxious about something without realizing like, they're trying to make me feel this way.
Yeah.
So back to the plot, Superman realizes Doomsday can't fly and he grabs him and like basically dunks him into the lake to try and put him in like the silt so that he can't use it to jump, which is actually a pretty smart idea.
He even says like, this will buy me a few minutes.
Yeah.
And they're coming from the sky too. He's like fucking gravity dropping him into the.
Like a mega suplex, basically.
Yeah, it's really cool. All the action in this is so cool. Like you have to just see it to see how well it's portrayed. So Superman goes back for the kid and his family, and
Guy Gardner says, "Go, don't wuss out, Boy Scout. Put this guy in pine blocks, or I'll crawl out of this gurney and kick both of your butts."
I was gonna, yeah. The JLA saves the burning house, and as Superman swoops down to save baby and man baby. I mean, woman and man baby.
Baby and man.
And then the ambulance arrives, and they're taking care of the JLA. And then we get another anime trope of the guy, like the badass guy who's always
Guy
always
Gardner.
rude to everyone. They're injured, but they're like, you have to go and do it, or I'll kick your ass.
yeah. It's like Yamcha.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that too. And then Superman's questioning to himself. He's like, he tells them like, I'm gonna go stop Doomsday. And then he's just thinking like, how can I stop him when the Justice League combined couldn't?
Yeah.
And then we see some scenes of like conventional humans trying to stop him. So it's like a helicopter shoots rockets at him.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing I just want to say about the art too. We mentioned that every page has 4 panels, but it's not like 4 rectangles.
same, yeah.
It's still like
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be the wide panel in the middle with 1 frame on top and 2 on bottom. Sometimes it's
It's very stylized.
4 thin ones. Yeah, it's that's why I have to like as I flip it, I keep counting to make sure it's 4.
Yeah. And so, Doomsday just jumps through the helicopter. And what's interesting about this is the missiles are flying everywhere now, and Superman grabs the missiles, throws them into Doomsday, but his next priority is I gotta save the pilots from the helicopter. Like, in all these scenes where civilians are at stake, you see him constantly not fighting to his potential.
You know,
so that
I've
he
read
can
this
go...
3 times and never noticed the missiles that he like throws them right
Yeah.
at Doomsday.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's
Ka-choom.
so cool.
It's so cool. And he's always trying to save the civilians throughout this series.
Trying to minimize damage as much as he can.
This is why I always it's not as cool because it's a cool story with the concept of Superman dying, where immediately grabs your attention. But also I think it's a good Superman story for new readers because it shows why Superman's a heroic character, even when he's fighting the ultimate, most scary villain ever.
If you could imagine, the reason why Phil told me to read this was because I was like, Superman's really boring. He's such a Boy Scout. He's too like lawful good. That's boring. And then Phil was like, no, you're wrong. You don't know enough about comic books, Ryan. Here. And like, I was wrong. This is awesome.
Yeah. Back in the day when my paltry knowledge was enough to be an expert.
He had to school Ryan on something.
And I swore on that day I will never be schooled by Phil on comic books again.
So we cut to like some town, and they're like, sounds like a cartoon bomb hitting, and then Doomsday crashes into the ground nearby.
I love the description.
Me too. And then they're like, it sounds like that again, and it's fucking Superman drop kicking like into Doomsday, like
Threw the car into the concrete.
yeah. He's like, now the gloves are off, like now I'm gonna kick your ass. And it's just scenes of them fighting. More helicopters start flying in and shooting him with like a chain gun. But Doomsday literally just rips a pole off the ground, spears the helicopter, and throws the helicopter. But again, Superman has to fly in, pick up the pilots, and save them. And now Maxima shows up, who we said before is like just girl Superman type character in terms of powers.
Yeah.
We get some stuff that doesn't matter. Lois Lane wants to
Well,
watch
it doesn't
this.
matter a little bit, but basically because Lois Lane is like getting Jimmy Olsen together to prepare to report on this, and Supergirl, who's with Lex Luthor, who, at the time they were dating. It's hard. Let's not get into that, but basically,
I was like, what the fuck is this? Lex Luthor with the red beard?
No, say it. Say who Lex Luthor is and who
we'll get
Supergirl
into it.
is.
We'll get into it. We have so much to
Tell
cover.
me.
No, just say it for the readers.
Okay, Lex Luthor is a clone that they think is his son that they put Luthor's brain in, and Supergirl is a shape-shifting alien.
There you go.
But it's comics, guys.
It sounds stupid, and you might say, "Oh, it is stupid, Daryl." But Daryl was like the whole time, like, "What is this?" But Phil, I, and Ryan all read this without even thinking too much about it. Like, it's just a part of the world. Like, this is a fact.
Yeah, I didn't know any of this stuff, and like, it's not super inaccessible. Like, you're kind of the way the story is framed, they introduce you to a shit ton of characters here, but they're all just like, we want to help Superman.
Yeah,
and like
I think
that's it.
That's why it's forgivable in this. That like there's so much going on, and none of them are important in the grand scheme because it's constantly just this huge cast of characters throwing themselves at Doomsday and being demolished. So I didn't care too much about who the Justice League was or who these other weird people are or Supergirl, because it's like they're gonna try and fight Doomsday and help stop him. And they exist as like this another power to try to stop his advance.
And even with all these allies and everything, when Maxima's fighting Doomsday, she smashes him through a store, and Superman stops her, and he's like, I know you're helping, and I know we have to stop him, but there could be innocent people in there. You have to watch before you punch this guy.
I like to imagine this scene is literally real Superman talking to Man Steel Superman. Like, you can't do this. You can't throw him to stores. You can't do that.
Yeah, but like, even in this horrible, horrible scene, like, tonally, not like, it's not a bad written scene.
Yeah.
They're like, he's like, no, we have to care about innocent life. We can never be like Doomsday, just mindless engines of destruction.
Yeah, and I love too with like this fight now. Maxima and Superman are teaming up on him, and Superman like grabs him in a chokehold, and he's like, "Maxima, hit him!" And he's so fast that he throws Superman off, and Maxima like punches him in the face.
Yeah,
and then she's like saying, "He'll not catch me by surprise," as he's catching her by surprise and knocking her into knocking her away, and while she's still like falling, taking a truck and smashing it into her in the ground.
Yeah.
Like you constantly get a feel for how fast he is, even though they don't show him like a blur ever. It's always like the scene in the action is always like the final part of his strike.
Yeah.
But no one is ever expecting it, so you just see the impact.
Yeah.
It comes across as really impactful.
Like, you just see him at one spot, and the next panel he's already punching another character. Like, when you imagine the amount of space it took for him to get to that point, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're fighting at a gas station, which obviously is a problem. They get covered in gasoline, and she smacks him and just rips a...
Yeah, she's like, hold tight, Kryptonian. Maximo will not miss again. She pulls a light out of the ground, or a lamppost, and sparks fly, and they all blow up.
Yeah, gas station explodes.
Yeah.
And, Superman and Maxima, that's even enough to knock them out, but Doomsday's just like, see ya.
Yeah.
And then...
I almost felt that.
Yeah. Then some other guy shows up, Guardian, who cares? And then
Guardian sucks.
the issue ends.
I like that Guardian shows up and he immediately begins like condescending to Superman. He's like, "Was all this destruction necessary?"
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even fight. He rides on his little motorcycle. He's like, "Why are you being so destructive?"
I want to talk about Guardian a little bit because I don't like him at all. Basically, Jack Kirby created him. Basically, when Jack Kirby left Marvel in bad terms, he basically recreated Captain America. His creation.
It was actually Simon and Kirby.
Yeah, but like he was
Simon and Garfunkel.
No, I'm saying they both came to DC and created Guardian together again.
Oh, they did really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically they rehashed Guardian, and Guardian just sucks. Like,
Yeah, he's like a shitty Captain America.
yeah, he's just first of all he works for like basically a shitty, like not a shitty like crap quality shield, but like the shitty as in they do shitty stuff shield, like all like basically Captain America 2 shield, like Guardian is their stooge basically. And I just want to point him out because like here he's like constantly Superman, and then the next page of the next issue is him saying, "I'm sorry I didn't get here sooner, Superman." And Superman's like, "I doubt that you could have helped us avoid this, Guardian." Like even Superman's like, "You have a fucking shield. Like you're shitty Captain America. Get the fuck out of here."
And he says, actually, the issue ends with him saying, like, I actually think I have to do this alone. This is what Superman says, because he realizes no one else can do anything.
If Maximo gonna help me, Guardian, you're not gonna help me. Get out of here.
All the other superheroes are just gonna die facing him if they haven't already.
Yeah.
So the next issue opens up with Superman telling Guardian he's useless and going off by himself.
Sly's favorite part of the comic.
No, it's cool. Since this is the third to last issue, this still adheres to the 3 panels, and there's one main panel, and then the other 2 are TV-shaped panels. Because it's like showing the news. I think that's like a really cool way to recap.
Oh, yeah.
So, Superman's like, "Fuck you, Guardian." He flies off. Doomsday smashing up more trucks.
And I like how he follows him by just following this trail of destruction in the ground.
Yeah, and basically Doomsday throws a car into the air, and even though Superman's following this trail of destruction, he still goes to save the car because he's Superman. And
I gotta save that car. It's really expensive.
but the person's in there is like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die."
Yeah, I love this too because he throws this car so high into the sky that he's like flying, and the guy's like, "I must be dreaming because this isn't real." And then he realizes, "Oh, I'm gonna die."
Thinking with how strong Doomsday is, like that guy should be passed out from the G forces. Instead of like, am I in a dream?
Same thing with Booster Gold too. Like, if he can actually punch through concrete and throw this hard, like one punch would have splattered his head.
Yeah, definitely.
But we just got to be like,
He's from the future.
It's like in Dragon Ball Z how humans in Dragon Ball Z somehow can still make Kamehamehas and shit.
yeah, everyone has this inner strength that they can train.
Yeah, they're Kai Key.
Yeah, so Superman follows Doomsday. He follows him to Lexmart, which is like a Quickie Mart or Walmart, I guess. That is one by Lex before. I said Quickie Mart for some reason, whatever. And while he's there, all the people are freaking out, and Doomsday's just like running around like, "Argh." And then as he's in the mall, somebody yells like, "Hey, you!" Doomsday's like, "Argh? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Come closer." And it turns out it's a wrestling ad. "You don't have to miss a single moment of the greatest spectacle in the history of professional wrestling. I'm talking tag team, I'm talking steel cages, I'm talking knockout, drag out, grudge matches. I'm talking about War Bash 9000 this weekend at Metropolis Arena. I'm Major Mayan, Troopers, and I'm out for blood. I'm taking out Mighty Gorilla, Ugly Ben Sully, and the Mass Bone, Crusher, and I will prevail. This time, it's war. Pro wrestling like you've never seen before. This weekend at Metropolis Arena, Metropolis Arena, Metropolis Arena. Now, where are you going to go?" And Doomsday's like, "Metropolis?"
I also like how when he's standing in front of the TV, you kind of get a scale like he's actually not that huge. He's just so strong. Like Superman, they're humanoid size. He's not like a giant. He's just a very big humanoid.
Yeah, and so Superman catches up to him. They start fighting, and Lois Lane finally converges where Superman is on a news helicopter.
I wanted to say one thing. I know I keep harping on this, but they could have cheaped out so easily with the action here and just been like, they're so fast you can't see them, and just drawn blurs everywhere.
Yeah, like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, no, really. Some of the action in Dragon Ball Z is so cheap in that way, where they're like, we're just not going to show it.
They even have bystanders saying, like, I think the red and blue blur is Superman, but the panels are perfectly focused.
Well, that's what I like, is that they give you this sense, like, they are going so fast that humans really can't see what's happening, but we get to see the impact every time someone's hit.
Yeah. And so Lois is worried, Supergirl's worried, everyone's still worried, more worrying. And then another cool thing, Doomsday fights Superman. He throws him through a restaurant, like an IHOP probably. But like in the movie Man of Steel, he's thinking like, "Wow,
it's a big belly burger, bro."
Like, but he's like worried, like, "Oh, thank God the bus he threw at me was empty, but I hope the people at the restaurant are okay. Like, I hope they escaped in time. Like, even while he's getting his ass murdered by Doomsday, he's still worried about the people around him." And Doomsday's like laughing over him, glory like, "Ha, I kicked your ass." And then he sees a sign saying Metropolis 60 miles, and he says, "Huh? Metropolis? Metropolis? Where, bitch?"
I do have one question. How the fuck can Doomsday read?
You don't know if he can read or not.
Who cares?
Okay. Maybe he was taught to read. And then they locked him away. They're like, actually, this makes you too strong.
And we're gonna teach you English.
Yeah.
Oh wait, never mind. They say it in text on the TV when he sees the commercial. So maybe he's just recognizing it.
Yes, fuck you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Superman now realizes that this guy wants to go to Metropolis, and I have to stop him at any cost to let him go from going to Metropolis. I can't let him go any closer. I can't. He says. And Superman throws Doomsday into an abandoned area.
And I love that too. That he everyone's like, "Wow, he's fighting harder than I've ever seen him," and he grabs him by the foot and he weighs so much that he swings him around and flings him miles away.
Yeah, and but it turns out this is actually where that shitty shield I mentioned before, Cadmus, is around. And they're like, "What the fuck is happening? We gotta call Guardian," and he'll do save us, of course. Guardian's the best hero ever. I
love that he does nothing this whole comic, Guardian.
I know
he never does anything.
He never fights Doomsday.
He's fucking useless.
He just gets rubble falls on him and he passes out.
It's funny because every single hero in this story except Guardian tries, even when they get crushed.
Yeah.
Except Guardian just doesn't. He just never gets.
What literally happens is Guardian, basically Superman and Doomsday fight so hard to destroy the entire fake habitat they have built up there, and everything just collapses around them. And Superman does it basically just to try to stop him at any cost. And basically Guardian comes up saying, "Oh, what happened here? Is all the destruction worth it, Superman?" Tut. And Superman's like, "Fuck you, I fucking stopped him." But it turns out Doomsday just smashes through, and just the rubble knocks out Guardian. Guardian's out. Fuck him.
I love that too, and it's literally fucking just rubble. It's nothing.
Yeah, just like Guardian, it's nothing.
Yeah, and then Doomsday.
Another cool issue, another 2 pages, 2 panels here, where it's the sign of Metropolis, and then Doomsday hits the ground and takes off in the same panel and destroys the sign. He's going so fast.
Fuck you. He's like Link. Fuck you,
I like that they specifically state he's jumping 10 miles each time.
Yeah,
That's so far.
And I'd like to have the news reporters, helicopters reporting this along Lois Lane, and they're all giving us play-by-play, and they say, "Pass me to the Metropolis Civil Defense Command now! We have to warn this poor people! Doomsday's coming!" End of issue.
It's awesome.
And they say he's even going half the speed of sound with each jump.
Yeah. And so then, second to last issue. Now we're up to two panels an issue.
2 panels a page.
2 panels a
2
page.
panels an issue.
Wow.
You have to print them out and hang them up.
Yeah. But I'm trying to imagine how it's feasibly possible, but whatever. So it opens with Doomsday at a construction yard. He's snapping people's necks, murdering people. And Superman flies in and he says, "Forget it, Doomsday. Your rampage stops here." And the title of the issue is "Doomsday's Here." And Superman grabs Doomsday, flies him into the air, and Lois and Jimmy are reporting on it. And
we get more Guardian action.
Oh yeah, whatever.
He
Fuck it.
talks to Dubalex.
We skip. No, we're not talking about Guardian.
Superman's just trying to fly him out of the city. He's like he's taking off with him.
As he's doing that, Lois is kind of worried, saying, "This might be the deadliest foe Superman ever faced." And Jimmy's like, "Man, this is great. We're taking all these great photos somewhere, Lois."
Yeah, I can't
But
imagine.
Jimmy says like he's Superman. Of course he's gonna be okay, and that
Yeah.
becomes
Yeah,
a
but-
theme later too. When Superman's parents talk about it, they're like, everyone just assumes he is indestructible because he's Superman.
Yeah, just like in our election, where everyone's like, "Of course he's going to win. It doesn't matter if Trump's fucking leading on his phone."
No.
Yeah, Doomsday is the Trump train.
Yeah.
And so many people tried to stop him.
Yeah.
The Justice League was all these SJWs coming out.
No,
You
that
know,
was
we
the
have
Republican primary. They're like,
Yeah.
"Look, we got this, guys. Come on."
Right.
Blue Beetle is poor Jeb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just getting his face smashed in.
He's in a coma.
And then we get like the women coming out saying things, and then people saying Latinos coming out, but can anyone stop?
Can anyone stop Trump Day?
Yeah, but Superman's basically trying to fly Doomsday out of Metropolis, but Doomsday just kicks him in the fucking crotch again. Fuck you, Superman. And Superman has to drop him. And basically, as Doomsday's free of Superman, we get more shots of people worrying as Superman's parents are talking about how the fact that the reporters are all like callous about, like, "Oh, this is great. We're getting all these great shots," and the mom's like, "Fuck you. That's our son." And they're like, "Clark is our boy, Ma, but to the world he's Superman. They're not. It's not that they're callous. At least they don't mean to be. It's just they don't think anything bad can really happen to him."
And this is the first time we see Superman bleeding too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says, "Better finish this quick if I'm gonna live to finish it at all." So we know he's getting tired.
This is where we really start getting a sense that Superman might die from this.
And then we get a really cool side story with those Morlocks again.
Yep, Doomsday jumps down, breaks them out of prison, the ones from the first issue, and then they're all like, "Oh, thanks, a whole bunch."
Not really. Like, he breaks it out like just because like I want to smash things. Like he smashes his business to smash things. Like not like a conscious. I'm going to save these people decision.
And I think he just blows up all their heads. He just kills everyone down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I like that. And just like one
It's
panel,
just-
he's just like,
And then blows it up. He's like, "See ya."
The Morlocks are like, "Thank you, you see this." Doomsday's like, "Ah, fuck you," and he kills them all.
Yeah, and then he grabs a power line and it causes the whole city block to explode.
Yeah, he basically gets caught in the power line. Someone's trying to get him out of there, and it basically kills all the Morlocks and fucking blows up a whole city block, and sets up a chain reaction of city blocks blowing up.
And this is when Lex Luthor is now like, maybe this is a big problem.
Yeah,
And-
Supergirl, come save us, please.
Okay,
Yeah.
and at this point, I don't think they've mentioned that Supergirl is a shape-shifting alien.
No, this
No.
confused me so much.
Yeah, so I want to explain the scene in the mind of 8-year-old Sly.
I'm glad you spent so long remembering your own goddamn name.
Phil O'Dowd mentioned that when Blue Beetle got his face smashed in, they thought he was dead. When Garner got his face smashed in, they thought he was dead. I thought that was the kid too. I thought these were all dying. They're dead. They're not going to live through that. And this part especially, I did not know Supergirl's a shapeshifter. So what happens is Supergirl tries to save Superman. She literally gets one shot. He just punches her in the face, and her face melts.
Her face
Yeah.
turns to like goop, and if you
Yeah.
don't know she's a shapeshifter, it looks like he just turned her skin into jello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then the next panel, this little skinny, naked alien is falling with its eyes falling
with its
out.
eyes like falling out of its eye sockets. It's
But
so
like,
weird.
as a kid, I was not as a kid. I was in college, but when I first read this, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Supergirl gets one shot, literally one shot.
And Superman at this point, not only was he bleeding out of his mouth before, but now you see a panel where he's actually like, Doomsday's like elbowing him with his bone things, and he's bleeding everywhere. His cape's gone.
Yeah.
His outfit's starting to rip. Like you see, like he is fallible here.
Oh, and there is some inner monologue throughout this issue, or throughout the last couple issues, where Superman's like, "Is he getting more powerful? Is he
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
stronger?"
like I'm dying here. I'm getting tired. I'm bleeding, and I'm doing nothing to him, literally.
Yeah.
And so basically,
all these other really important characters show up.
Bibbo's great. Fuck you. But we're not gonna get to Bibbo now because he becomes more important later on. But basically, Bibbo and other heroes try to stop him,
Oh,
but they can't.
His name is Mr. Bibowski. Show some respect.
But basically, while all they're doing is buying Superman a few seconds, while he's literally trying to pick himself up. Like he says, "My legs feel like jelly," and everything's blowing up around him, and he's
again reminds me of Dragon Ball Z, where they finally wheel out this giant laser cannon onto the roof, and they're like, "This can blow up anything," and they like
yeah, it's the humans trying to fight back against the
yeah,
monsters
and they
now.
shoot him with it, and he's just like, "Ow," and
Yeah.
then he goes back to killing Superman.
and so but one other scene I like as everything's collapsing around, Superman says, "I'm pretty useless right now, but at least I can make for a pretty good shield." So he goes and tries to save Keith the orphan from before and
Yeah.
the people in the orphanage. It's like even
The
like,
orphanage is getting blown up, and he just lays in front of the explosion.
like even as he's fucking dying, he's like, I have to save this orphanage, and well I can. And the police.
I love this. The police show up, and like who's this fucking guy with like a Tommy gun laser gun and like a cigar?
That's Turpin. He's fucking great. Don't you fucking bang me off Turpin.
I kind of wish this scene like happened earlier, so you can see regular humans fighting Doomsday
But like,
with regular guns.
they
but-
weren't in a major city until
Yeah,
now.
I know. I get it.
So at least I have like fucking cannons, like the fucking militarization police. Am I right? Like they're all fucking shooting at Doomsday. And he just ignoring it, running at them, and he actually grabs Turpin and throws him, basically almost killing him until Superman runs in and saves Turpin just in time.
Because the
And-
force of Superman's arm wouldn't just snap.
Well,
his
fucking-
ribs.
yeah,
But whatever. That's
It's fucking comics.
It's basically like all this stuff is all the lesser characters of Metropolis that were in other Superman stories. Because I was asking
Yeah.
Ryan Sly about like, who are these guys? Why are they here? But they're
These are the characters that are usually in a Superman story. They're basically all trying to save Superman as best they can, and they're all failing basically.
Yeah.
And so
And he says again, like, I'm not sure I can make a dent in his hide. He's already made several in mine, and I've got to hit him with everything I got. And he punches Doomsday in the jaw and actually like breaks some of that bony diamond.
Yeah.
blood comes out of his
But at the
mouth.
same time, he's being like stabbed.
This
with
might be the
his-
first time in Superman's entire canon that he's hit someone as hard as he could.
yeah.
And this is 60 years after he was made, almost.
And just another thing to point out, he also when he saves Turpin, he also says, "Get everyone out of here." He basically says, "I'm going to fight him by myself. Like I don't want anyone helping me anymore. Like I'd rather die here, fight myself."
Unless Guardian, he'll be a great help.
yeah. and he says, and he tells Superman as he's fighting him, "Your rampage ends here, Doomsday. Even if it kills me, Metropolis is where I hold the line." End of
Oh,
the
such a fucking cool panel, and at the same time they're being pelted with lasers too, because
Yeah.
this like future team comes in, and you just see
Cadmus.
Yeah, Cadmus comes in.
Superman and Doomsday are just like brawling hardcore as they're being pelted from every angle with like death lasers.
So, final issue.
One thing, it starts up with the battle has devastated the better part of America. It's just New York, and you can tell all these writers are from New York because they're like, New York is destroyed.
Well, no,
Dude,
they've been fighting across the whole country.
No, but they started in Ohio, didn't they?
No,
They're like
that's
right-
where
they're right
Superman met up with him.
there. Okay.
And if based on the electorate, Ohio's the only real state that matters.
That was him taking Ohio.
Before we get to the plot, we also have to definitely point out the cover of the actual single issue because it's infamous. It's a cover of Superman's cape floating in the wind, and basically one of the most rare.
Like a flag, it's on a stick.
Yeah, it's like a flag. Basically, it's his cape impaled on the stick, like a flag. It's one of the most famous issues of all time. Probably one of the most expensive collector's items out there.
If it's still polybagged.
Yeah.
So, like we said before, like all the panels were counting down to this issue. So this is just like full page
Splash pages.
panels, which are super cool. And it's Superman fighting Doomsday.
as these future guys are like just all hovering above Doomsday, like lasering him with these things that can apparently blow up tanks.
Yeah,
But they don't do shit to Doomsday.
They don't do shit. He doesn't even look up at them. He's
Yeah.
just punching Superman in the face.
Yeah.
yeah. Earth's mightiest heroes have already fallen under Doomsday's murderous blitzkrieg.
Like the Guardian.
Only one hope, only one man remains. The Guardian. He's far away talking to his alien friend.
What should we do? And he's like, I love how the only thing they do is like, where do you think this guy came from? As if it
Yeah.
fucking matters.
Yeah. Like, oh, we should debate about this while Superman's fucking getting murdered.
Well, again, they just establish like how they do this. This is a minor nitpick I have. I understand they have to do it because they're different issues, like different comics, but they always have to establish that Doomsday's like mindless. He's just there to kill. There's like not a thought in his head. Because they're always like, I wish we could talk to him. Like, I wish we could reason
Yeah.
with him. And it's like, I get it.
That's why the best invention of comics was a recap page, where you just say all the stuff in the unrelated page, just summarizing the previous issues, instead of having the characters repeat it every time.
And then in a trade, you don't put those pages in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Previously on,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that in TV shows too, and I really, they're just shitty.
Yeah.
They hurt the flow of a show when you're watching more than one episode at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like a necessary evil because they're there for the people that forget between.
That's a good
weeks.
point too.
Yeah.
So Doomsday's beaten the snot out of Superman. He holds up his like body, and Superman's like, "I have to move faster, match Doomsday's speed, or I'm done."
I gotta use Kaioken times 20.
And they just throw Superman into a helicopter.
Yeah, that's another thing to point out. when they said how fast he was, they compare him to the Flash, and here Superman says, "I have to match his speed. Like I'm lagging behind him. Like he's faster than a speeding bullet, literally."
Wait, so is confirmed Flash faster than Superman?
He is faster than Superman. Yes.
Okay.
So he throws him into a helicopter, and then
It's the fucking Lois Lane newscaster.
yeah, it's his wife's helicopter, his fiance's.
Yeah.
It's like, blast, all these onlookers and choppers are complicating matters by getting in the way. So then he has to like take Lois.
Just like the media,
and Jimmy
fucking watching a spectacle and not being responsible.
yeah, he's like, get out of here.
He's like, Comey, get out of here!
Yeah.
Get out of the election!
So then he takes the helicopter away, and this gives him like a brief moment of reprieve to talk to Lois.
Yeah.
Where she's like, maybe you should retreat and get help. Jimmy is right. And he's like, too late, Lois. The JLA has already fallen, and there are too many innocents in jeopardy right now. It's up to me. And then they have a full-page kiss while Jimmy's taking pictures in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she says, Clark, and he goes, just remember, no matter what happens, I'll always love you. Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now
Doomsday gets his. And he's flying off, and then we have another anime trope of the lady standing in back with her hands clasped.
Yeah, I know. I thought the same thing. She's like, I hope he'll be okay.
Yeah, she's like, wait, come back.
Senpai.
Please come back.
What can she do at that point besides?
No, I know. I
No,
think
but the hands clasped is like, it's in every single anime. Because it shows like how innocent, nice, and pure they are.
Maybe it's just based off an anime.
And then Jimmy's like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen the big guy so fired up.
He talks like that. I'm Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
This election's a shoo-in.
this is like, it's so funny how nonchalantly he's taking this. Like, this is like, he's watching Manhattan get destroyed. Or
But keep it's too crazy to us. But keep in mind, like it shows how they take it for granted. Like every time they've been in danger, they'd be like, "Superman will save us. What's the big deal?" Like, yeah, she'll be blown up, but as they show during the fight, Superman saves people even when shit's getting blown up.
Still, there's a ton of destruction.
Yeah, we need more personal accountability.
But I think the show, like, it might seem like absurd to us, but like it shows how much Superman has protected for so long that they're like, there's no way he can die. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Superman like flies into Doomsday and pushes him down.
And this is an awesome full page where Doomsday grabs him by the feet and just like runs with him, dragging Superman's head through the concrete.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the previous page too, it's like the camera's pulled back and it's showing them flying all the way through a building through its like supports on the ground.
Yeah. And the guys,
The flying the Cadmus guys are like, I want to keep firing, but it's impossible. They're moving too fast.
They're like Krillin. They're like, they've been shooting him and they're like, does he
No,
notice
they're
me?
worse.
Yeah.
Like Ice was like Krillin, where she's like, I'll go
Yeah.
do this.
so now, but then basically bury Superman in the concrete after dragging him through it. And Lois is like, "Oh, Superman's in trouble. I want to help him." While Jimmy,
Yeah, I love that. She's like, I'll stop him.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's just supposed to represent like how powerless everyone has been. That she's like, I have to do something.
I think she just wants to buy Superman some time, like distract him while.
Yeah, she says, move while you can, Jimmy. I'll distract him while you run away. And then Superman's fist comes out of the ground and he punches him right in the back or the butt.
Maybe.
He fists him. And Superman's clothes at this point are like almost completely ripped.
I like his serious face.
Yeah.
Right there in that page.
While he's fisting him.
Yep, and then he shoots him with the laser eyes right into a wall. And he's explaining, like, Lois is like, what does he want? I don't understand. And he's like, he wants destruction and death. I have to be every bit ferocious, as relenting as he is.
But she says, "We can't. He wants to kill you, and you can't." And it's supposed to signify that Superman's considering he has to kill Doomsday. Like, there's no way I could. He's like Zod in Man of Steel, where he's like, "This guy can't live. He has to die."
Yeah.
Yep. And then Doomsday knees him in the face. And he's like, oh, bony protrusion. So sharp he cut me. And he realizes that if the bones are just an extension of his skeleton.
Yeah.
So then, like, he grabs him and he kicks down, like, that spike that was
He
coming out
snaps
his
off
knee.
a piece of his bones.
Yeah, it looks really brutal. And Doomsday feels it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yes, I finally managed to hurt him," like suggesting that he didn't feel pain like at all really before that.
And then this great...
This is my favorite page.
Yeah, I keep saying they're full page. They're all full page.
Yeah.
It's them, like, they're both punching each other at the same time, and they both look so tired, and they're fighting over Superman's cape, and in the background, centered, is the Daily Planet, and all of the windows are exploding because of like the force with which they're hitting each other.
Yeah, the
I
shockwaves.
love that so much.
Yeah.
Yep, and Jimmy's like, watch out for falling glass.
Daryl hates Jimmy Olsen, apparently.
He takes away from the main scene.
Well, it's supposed to be showing like onlookers and how callous they are. And like,
I mean, I looked at it as like he's the audience that's like Superman always wins. The good guys always
Yeah.
win.
Jimmy usually is like the fill-in for like what the audience
Yeah.
feels.
And then after that page, Superman puts like he balls his fist with his hand, and he's going at him, and he says, "This is it. Looks like we're both betting everything we've got on this one. For Lois and Jimmy, for this entire city. I've got to put this guy away while I still can." And then he hits him across like on the chin.
Like
and-
weary boxers who have gone the distance, the combatants collide in one last explosive effort. In the years to come, a few witnesses will tell of the power of these final punches. That they could literally feel the shock waves. Others will remember the enormous crater that resulted from the sheer force of the blows. But most will remember this sad day, as the day the proudest, most noble man they ever knew finally fell. For those who loved him, one who would call him husband, one who would be his pal, or those who would call him son. This is the darkest day they could ever imagine. They raised him to be a hero, to know the value of sacrifice, to know the value of life. And for those who served with Superman in the protection of all life, comes the shock of failure, the weight of being too late to help. For a city to live, a man had given his all and more. But it's too late, for this is the day that a Superman died. And throughout this, it's the final blow between Doomsday and Superman. It's
reflected in the lens of a camera.
Jimmy's camera.
For Jimmy and Lois.
And Lois quietly says no as it happens.
Yeah.
and his parents are watching on TV.
They're crying.
The Justice League is watching, crying.
They show the members that were still a lot, not like in comas, returned, and they're like, "We didn't make it in time. Fuck."
Yeah, and now at this point it switches to two-page spreads.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Superman is still conscious for like a few seconds, where he's like asking if Doomsday's dead.
And also crying, saying, "You stopped him. You saved us all. Now relax until." And then, as it says, that this is the day that Superman died. Just so Superman pulled back as Lois cries and Jimmy snaps pictures.
And in the background is his cape wrapped around a stick as a flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's such a fucking good.
Oh my god.
My one criticism of this end is that I feel like it was anticlimactic in the sense that if Doomsday didn't it felt like Doomsday shouldn't have gotten knocked out from that last punch. Like he was not being hurt the whole time, and then they both punch each other at the same time and die.
Well, Superman also was holding back until the last issue, or the last 2 issues, when he's like, I've never hit people this hard. And also right before it is when he made the conscious decision to kill,
Yeah.
which he hadn't made
okay.
up to that point.
So before that, he was just punching him to knock him out.
Yeah.
No, he was like Superman had lived his whole life basically always holding his punches because he could kill Lex Luthor if he wanted to. He could kill almost anyone if he wanted to. So he's always been holding his punches back. They talk about this a lot in certain comic things, where it becomes at some point to hold back your punches that it becomes unnatural to use your full force.
Okay.
I think that's when Superman's finding I can't hold back. I have to fucking shatter these glasses, create this crater in this fucking ground, but I have to stop Doomsday right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it was a minor criticism, but I
So, that's it. That's the death of Superman.
He's
Thoughts?
dead, and he's not dead.
Yeah, I feel like if this is how comic books killed characters off, and this was their end, every character would have such a fucking amazing, cool death.
There are a lot of characters that have amazing deaths like this, one of which is Blue
No,
Beetle.
but then they come back, and it always is going to take something from it. I think.
Here's me and Ryan always talked about this, and it's worth bringing up here.
Do you want to save it for if we do him?
Yeah, that's a good
back?
point. Let's save it because that's a big question whether Resurrection's just cheapness entirely and they're just shit. But we'll get to that later on.
Okay.
Yeah. But this was... So, I think we're all pretty in agreement that this rules, right?
Yeah, this is really cool.
No, this sucks. Nemesis is better than this.
Fuck.
We almost made it a whole episode, Phil.
The only thing I was a bit iffy on, outside of all the stuff I'm iffy on are stuff where I understand why it's in there and why it has to be there. Where it's where you bring up all the other characters into it that I don't know, and I'm like, who are these people? But it's it would be so cool if you were following this whole thing when it was happening at the time, and then you're reading it and you see all these characters collide, and you just see Doomsday wipe out all of them, and
It's one of those things. Like, when I first got into comics, because I watched Superman and Batman based on the cartoons, and there are some overlap, like Turpin and Maggie are in the show, Hamlin's in the show, but like there's still a lot of unfamiliar things, like Lex Luthor 2 and Cadmus and all this shit.
Where was Flash and Wonder Woman and Green
There's
Lantern?
the next issue, next story arc, Funeral for a Friend shows everyone else showing up saying like, "Wow, we were busy doing other shit."
Oh, I guess because this happened in a pretty quick time.
Yeah, this was like a day. This whole entire
Yeah.
event. So like, and they're all like, we feel like shit. We could have helped a little bit, and we didn't help at all.
Maybe. Could they have? Like, would anyone have had the power to do anything here?
Well, but
Yeah.
they asked that question,
Right. Okay.
and it's interesting.
I'm just imagining like fucking Aquaman.
So
If only I was there.
Yeah. Or like Batman. Like I would have planned.
well, Batman was just about to get his back broken by Bane at this point.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and isn't this around? Yeah, when they were changing up all the DC stuff,
Yep.
and then Hal goes on his murder spree.
That actually ties in. The catalyst for that is Return of Superman.
Yeah.
Oh.
If we do Return of Superman,
We have to. This episode, this book is so good.
when we do Return of Superman, we have to probably maybe immediately segue into
Emerald Twilight.
Emerald Twilight. I think
That's
we should.
one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast.
This
for
isn't
that
divisive
stuff.
though. This is just good.
I know, but it's a controversial.
No, people shit on this story all the time.
Yeah, they do.
Death of Superman?
Yeah.
They say
How?
basically all the reasons why we like it, why because it's just a big punching fight. They say it should have been something like where Superman's intelligence is challenged, where
And
he's
they're like, oh, it's so 90s. It's a big muscle guy that just punches real good.
yeah.
But isn't like comparatively, like you guys were saying, compared to like the stuff in the past, like this is
Yeah.
the first time it's been a brawl.
How often have we read comics where big, strong powerhouses are like literally unleashing everything they have on each other? Like never.
Yeah, but that's we have to be like we're signed on for that, but some people stick it in buds, I would argue, aren't. So
Oh, that's true.
'em.
Like
Fuck 'em.
You could. Like you could have enjoyed comics for more of like the cerebral aspect of it, of like how does this guy outwit this guy?
Yeah,
and
like-
this comes around and you're like, it's just fighting, like it's just boring.
I mean, there were people who didn't like Pacific Rim, and if they're the same people, like suck my dick. Sorry.
These are also this also ushered in a wave of like the death and come back right away that a lot of people complain about. It also ushered in like the big shakeups in the DC universe, which are my
Right.
favorite DC thing ever. Like you said, like Emerald Twilight and Nightfall, like with Bane and getting like edgy new Batman and stuff. But I think that stuff is really interesting and unique, where a lot of people are like, I want the old way, like when everything was nice and simple and innocent. But like that stuff sucks. Fuck you guys.
I also think a lot of people lump because like people lump the '90s into one big pile because the '90s Marvel sucked. Like it was all about flashy covers and just dumb fights. Like it was like the Michael Bay of comics at the time.
There is nothing that I like better in superhero comics than 90s DC. Come fight.
I thought
me,
you were gonna say then Michael Bay.
But 90s DC, people lump it in with 90s Marvel. It is not the same. Like there are some stuff just to get in viewers. Like this is a story to get in viewers, but it's still a good story. It's impactful. It has a lot of character stuff.
Well,
in it.
going to that comparison, like if like I understand how big punching guys can be shitty, like Transformers.
Yeah.
But like Pacific Rim, I think, is an example of you can have big punch fights done really well.
As long as you have the characters there and you have
Also,
some
like
to
I've
it.
heard a lot of Transformer stuff is kind of having your cake and eating it too, where it is like big punchy stuff and also really good.
Like a lot of that's why a lot of people hate the Michael Bay movies because like the cartoons and movies like not the movies the cartoons and comics are actually more substantive and
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant the Michael Bay ones.
Yeah.
but yeah so it's controversial but we all agree fuck those people.
Fuck you guys.
So, as a show, do we want to read more?
I do now.
I would.
I would. I've only
Already.
read this one. I haven't read The Return, so I don't know what happens. Even though I know there's 4 Supermen.
Yes.
I do next part isn't returned out. It's gonna be Funeral for a Friend or World Without a Superman as it's now called, but back then it was called Funeral for a Friend, which is the funeral of Superman. Now everyone reacted to it.
Did I read that?
Yeah, I didn't have them when I was a kid, so you didn't react.
So I guess not.
I would recommend to listeners to read the whole Death and Return saga. It's collected as one big hardcover if you really want to, but there's some twists in it that are really good. So I recommend reading along. But you don't have to. We're still going to recap shit.
You have to. You have to.
Yeah. We're gonna have a members a pay-in like a membership block. Like we're gonna have a quiz you before you can listen to the podcast, and if you can't, they'll lock you out.
So yeah, we're gonna do another big block of episodes because we kind of had some soul searching this week and needed to do one. we needed to do something that could inspire us. So this is where we landed.
Superman dying.
Yeah, hope you guys are ready. But we went pretty long, so we're skipping letters. But
we're ignoring the will of the people, just like the college did.
Oh boy.
Hopefully by the end of this we'll stop making these jokes, but probably
Or it'll
not.
just get worse.
Or it'll just get worse.
Until we are driven to insanity and become the Joker.
But I definitely recommend you everyone check out the other shows on the Comrade Radio Network, comraderadio.com. Classic Smassic just had a new episode that I really, really loved. And you should listen to their show and all the shows. And as always, rate and review us, iTunes, Stitcher, all that jazz. It would be awesome. And Divisive Issues on Twitter and Facebook, all that stuff. And join the Comrade Radio Facebook group.
We're not invincible like Superman. We will die without your support, too.
Yeah.
People of Earth, give us your strength.
That's good.
So, recommendations?
So recommendations, going off what Sly said, I want to recommend Dragon Ball Z Kai. People of Earth, give me your strength. It's Dragon Ball Z without all the filler, and the fights are cut down a bit too, to the point where it's like, you know how in every episode of Dragon Ball Z, like 5 or 8 minutes of it is the fight, and then the other times they're like doing something else.
We gotta charge our beams up.
They cut out that other stuff and they just have most of the fighting. So like you get to the Cell Saga in the first 30 episodes.
Wow, that's fast.
Or 40.
It's like an issue or something.
I'm probably exaggerating, but it is it's good. It's still Dragon Ball Z, so if you really hate it, you're not gonna like it. It's still people, fucking shooting laser beams at each other and punching through mountains. But I like that, and I recommend it.
What about you, Daryl?
I'm going to recommend, if you like Doomsday, watch Batman vs. Superman.
Fuck
you!
This is our first troll recommendation since Joe left.
Actually, I wasn't sure what I was going to recommend, but that is the inverse of a good Doomsday, because
That's a good point. It is,
Doomsday really could have been his own movie because of how cool he is. And
He's in Batman vs Superman.
He's in the last 30 minutes.
I still haven't seen.
Yeah, it's the last 30 minutes. He just shows up, and it's like he's there because he needs to kill Superman.
He's the Venom of the fucking film.
Yeah.
Also, I just decided not to say Daryl fuck you, but
Daryl, fuck you.
I have a feeling since we have so many people on the broadcast and some of our last couple of recommendations were low effort, I feel like unless you have a stronger recommendation you want to recommend, I don't think we have to feel obligated to give one.
Okay, yeah. This story is good. Read it. If you haven't read a Superman story, I'd recommend Death of Superman.
Okay, do you have one, Sly? Because I actually have one.
I'm just gonna recommend Death of Superman.
Okay. Even though we mentioned the Justice League International and it's my favorite comic book of all time, I would actually recommend. I'm recommending the second run, the run that ties into this, Dan Jurgens' run. Even though I like the run before it, the Giffen Mateo stuff more, this one has a big fallout from this, where Blue Beetle is actually comatose for quite a while. And Booster Gold loses because all his future tech is broken and he doesn't live in the future. He can't fix it.
Yeah. So, that sucks.
Yeah, so he's completely powerless while his best friend is in a coma and he can't do anything. And it's, especially the issue right after this, is incredibly emotional, and it's just like them dealing with the fact that they couldn't do anything and they just had to sit there and watch Superman die because they weren't strong enough. And it's collected in the second trade of Superman and the Justice League of America. But I think both trades are worth reading, and it's really good stuff. So that's it.
Cool.
So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening to Divisive Issues. Gotta get that fucking brand recognition.
Yeah.
I've been Keith, the Lonely Orphan.
I've been KRANG.
I've been the Man Baby.
And I've been Angsty Ryan Lynch.
Stay in continuity.